Hey guys, welcome back to Ashley's Homestead Adventures. We are in the kitchen this morning. As you can tell, it is dripping outside. I went out and did morning chores, and then I promptly came back in, and we're going to be in the kitchen for a little while this morning. If the rain stops, I do have outside projects that I want to do, i.e. the big chicken shuffle. But for now, we're in the kitchen this morning, and I do want to drop in one thing here. Mr. Wonderful sent me an update on Miss Eppie and how much she's enjoying basically living on the river right now. And she's becoming a real true water dog. So I'm gonna pop that in here and let you guys watch that while I finish getting set up and getting my kitchen semi-clean and ready to bake in. Isn't that just precious? I really love the shot of her coming up off the embankment there, like, you know, super dog. Anyway, we are jumping into getting to baking. It's my day off, and so we are going to start some sourdough bread. Okay, here is your screenshot. If you'd like to take one, you may. We are doing the sourdough discard loaf. We'll start it first. So as it states, I'm going to put 100 grams of my sourdough discard, 250 grams of water, and 500 grams of all-purpose flour. Then I'll put it in the stand mixer, let it go for about 38 seconds is usually what it takes for mine. And then we'll let it rest for 30 minutes. Then we will come back and we'll add the butter, the salt, the sugar, and the yeast. Mix it for about 6 minutes or until it's slapping the sides of the bowl in the stand mixer. And then it rests in the bowl for an hour to rise. We put it in a pan, let it rise for another hour, and then we bake it off at 350 for 40 minutes. We'll let her sit for 30 minutes. Okay, now I am going to take Cheeky, my sourdough starter, who has been sitting in the fridge. I'm gonna go ahead and take her and divide her in half. I'll put half in the discard jar. This is my discard jar that we just used for that last recipe. And I'm gonna go ahead and feed Cheeky. $2.22. So I ended up with 100 grams of discard. I added 100 grams of water and 100 grams of flour. As you noticed, I added a little bit of wheat and a little bit of white flour. I usually try to do about a 50-50 as far as in between the two flours, but my wheat flour ran out, so it was actually more white flour this time. But stir her together. going to let her sit on the counter here and get happy, and then we'll start a sourdough loaf. Okay, now as you noticed, I ran out of my wheat flour, so we will go to my bulk storage of wheat flour and get it out and get this filled back up. Sugar, flour, navy beans, brown sugar, kidney beans, basmati rice, flour, whole wheat, got it. Okay, there's going to be a lot of things that go into this, but I am going to start out. So the next project, you guys, there's going to be a lot of different facets that go into this, so I'm going to start out by giving you the recipe from my recipe book. This is years in the making. It's taken me, I'm gonna say 5 or 6 years. I didn't can tomatoes last year. I didn't do salsa last year. And I don't think I did salsa the year before. So I'm talking active years. I love, don't hate me, please don't hate me. I love paste picante. Love it, love it, love it. It's just it is my favorite go-to salsa. Now, if I want authentic Mexican salsa, that's different. I have a recipe for that too. But we primarily, our go-to is the Americanized paste picante copycat recipe, which is what this is. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip you guys around, put it on the recipe so you can take a screenshot, and then there's a lot of facets that go into this. I haven't even got my canners out yet, so I'm gonna get my canner out. We gotta get the jars sterilizing. We've got to get peppers on the grill, tomatoes in the oven. You know, it's usually there's 2 of us doing this, so it'll be interesting to see. This is my first time manning this alone, but I've got a whole box of beautiful tomatoes that a neighbor gave me. I don't want them to go to waste. I want to turn them into salsa today. So here we go. So here is my recipe. Very, very simple. 3.5 pounds of tomatoes, 1 large red onion, and you can swap that. If you don't like the bite of a red onion, you can swap it for white or yellow. I a lot of times will swap out the onions and the peppers. I just use what I have coming out of the garden. 4 to 10 jalapenos, that's depending on how hot you want it. And I'm going to use a lot of jalapenos today, and then I'm going to use some serranos out of the garden as well, because I don't have regular jalapenos in my garden this year. I just have jalapenos and then other hot peppers. So 4 garlic cloves, 1 to 2 teaspoons of salt, 3 tablespoons of white vinegar. The tomatoes need to be roasted at 350 for 45 minutes. The peppers need to be grilled. I'm gonna take them out to the smoker and we'll blacken them. And then we'll put everything in the Cuisinart, pulse it till it gets to the desired consistency, and then we will fill our jars with 1/2 inch headspace. Make sure we clean the rim real good, put our lids and our rings on, and we'll water bath them for 15 minutes for me in Oregon, and also here it's going to be 20 minutes due to my elevation. I got to add 5 minutes for water bath. So the first thing that I have to do is I have to take this beautiful box, let's see if I can do this without dumping it, box of tomatoes, and I need to weigh them out and see how many I have so that I know how many peppers, onions, garlic cloves I need to peel. It's all based on how many pounds of tomatoes I have, and then I also have some tomatoes in the fridge, so I'm gonna go ahead and get all of my tomatoes together and get them weighed so I have a base weight for how much I'm gonna make. So I pretty much have about 4 batches here. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these started with their roasting process, and then we'll just work our way down the list, knowing that I have 4, maybe 5. I've got 4 batches and then 2 pounds, 11 ounces. So I'm probably gonna just go ahead and treat it like 5, but I'll probably end up with 4 by the time I core all of these, cut any bad blemishes off, and you know, we roast them and pull what skins off we can. We're probably going to end up with 4 batches. We'll lose, I would imagine we'll lose at least 2 pounds. So we'll see, but you know, you just err on the side of caution as far as pick enough peppers from the garden, you know, peel enough garlic cloves, roast enough peppers, and we can always use them for something else. So I am just going to get to washing, coring, and cutting off any, you know, any blemishes, any bad spots. I mean, for instance, that's got a bad spot on it. We'll just cut that tomato pretty much in half. You know, and what does not go into the salsa for this goes to the chicken, so it's not a waste. Err on the side of caution. Make sure that you are not gonna make your family, yourself, your friends sick. Cut anything that looks not perfect off. You know, of course, tomatoes are gonna have little, you know, little blemishes and things like that. This is not a big deal, but if you, when in doubt, cut it off, feed it to your chickens, or put it in your compost pile, whatever it may be. So I'm gonna get started on this. I have all my tomatoes in the sink to wash them, my chicken bucket here, and then I core them and half them, cut any bad spots out of them. The oven is preheating to 350, and our timer for our bread has gone off, and we also have started the smoker out here. So we fired up the Pit Boss for this job, and it looks like we are preheated to 118 so far. We've got it set to preheat to 400. So we'll wait for that to preheat up for our peppers. So we've got a couple staged pans here. These are tomatoes that are cleaned, ready to go in the oven to roast. We've got 2 pans in the oven roasting right now. And our bread is resting on its first rise. I am working on peppers at the moment, and we have a mixture of, these are sweet bananas. We have jalapenos, both red and green. You know, all peppers turn a color when they ripen, and so jalapenos turn red when they ripen. And there are a few serranos in here as well as some shishitos. This is what I have cut the tops off of, and some of them I have de-seeded. I'm trying out a new corer. So far, I like it, but the peppers have to be that big in order for it to work. So like, it doesn't work on that pepper. It won't work on that pepper. It'll work on that fat pepper. So I'm not sure if I love it, but right now it is working for the fat peppers, which is really good. So that is where we are at the moment, and we're just keeping it rolling. I changed out of my contacts, just decided I was going to be handling peppers, and I didn't want to try to take my contacts out tonight and then end up having burning eyes when I was trying to go to bed. So and I also find it really hysterical that no matter what we're canning, our chickens like seem to eat that day. So I'm giving them all of the scraps today while I'm making salsa, and they're basically going to eat salsa today. They're going to get all the scraps from everything, and so it just makes me giggle that our chickens are eating what we're canning. So anyway, in a roundabout way, they're eating, you know, the scraps of the tomatoes, the tops of the peppers, the skins of the onions, the skins of the garlic, and you know, so blend it all together and you have chicken salsa. So anyway, thought that was kind of funny. I'm going to keep on trucking. I'm just pulling the skins off here and putting them in a bowl, and we will save this bowl until we pull all the skins off, and then I will put them on parchment paper and put them in the dehydrator, and then we will grind them up and use them to make tomato paste. Time to check the peppers. Oh, one more. Oh boy, you know what I didn't get? I didn't get a, hold on. I didn't get a mitt. Hang tight. Okay. Alright, got them turned and they're going to go back in for another 30 minutes. I wish you guys could smell them. They smell so good. I am just, we've got a bowl of skins here. Cheeky's still growing on the counter. I'm just doing a load of dishes here. And I went ahead and organized my lids. I just had one bag for everything and it was just a jumbled up mess. So I went ahead and organized that, and now I have baggies for new lids. I've got my lids for this batch out. We have, these are pretty cool. They're actually probably, I could probably deskin them. Yeah. And the onions and the garlic are also out. Now we're just waiting on the peppers so that we can start building. My jars, my first batch of jars, there's 8 pint jars in the canner, the electric canner. All right. Just one more pan of tomatoes peeled. And that is why we roast them, you guys. Look at all that juice that came off. That's just less watered down that your salsa is going to be. We have a, I just put this pot, oops, wrong one, of water on the back, and this will be for after we put our jars in. If we need more water on top of the jars because they need to be covered by 1 inch of water, we will have extra boiling water. This pan is too hot for me to process the tomatoes yet, to get the skins off of them yet. And we still have the peppers in the smoker, and I am going to wash this bowl. Let's see, let's get this out of the way. I'm gonna go ahead and wash this bowl and start another loaf. Peppers just dinged on my watch. Let's go get them. Turn the smoker off here. Whoops. Okay. Oh my Lanta, look at those smoked peppers. Ooh, those look good. And now they are all chopped up and in the pots with the tomatoes and onions and garlic and salt and vinegar. Our canner is open, and I am just taking these jars, dumping out the excess water, and bringing them over here to my cutting board. We have a pot that is ready to go in the jars. Another sink full of dishes, and I'm just letting those 2 pots cook down. Now we will just start. That looks so good. Filling our jars to a 1/2 inch headspace. Our bread is in the oven. Our first discard loaf is in the oven, and then I am starting a wheat loaf. Never done this before, but I am going to start. I'm going to try to do a honey wheat. See how it goes. Wipe our rims clean. Pop our lids on. Put our rings on, finger tight. Back in the canner they go. Check and make sure we have 1 inch of water. We are almost there, not quite though. That is why we have this guy. Check it again, we are at 1 inch. Fire up the electric canner and off she goes. This is gonna just continue to sit here and cook while I probably do another round of dishes and get on to my next project. Okay, so the wheat bread got done hydrating in, you know, the flour and the water and the sourdough discard. And then we're following, it's a lot of the same things of the other discard recipe, except for I did 400 grams of wheat and 100 grams of white flour. And then same thing, 60 grams of butter. After you let it, you know, incorporate for 30 minutes, hydrate. 60 grams of butter, 7 grams of instant yeast, 10 grams of salt, and then I replace the sugar with honey, 20 grams of organic local honey is what I put in this. And now I'm gonna put it back in the stand mixer and let it go for 6 minutes or until it's slapping the side, just like the other loaf. And hopefully this will be another sandwich bread loaf. It will just be a honey wheat. That's my hope. I'm following, I'm kind of roughly following Pantry Mama's recipe for a sourdough discard wheat loaf. She uses sugar and I used honey. That's really the only difference that I'm doing. So we will see how this comes out. All right, this loaf is ready to come out of the oven. Okay, we are done here. So a little done. So let's open it up and see where we're at. Ooh, the water's clear. That is always a really good sign. No siphoning usually if the water is clear. The water is really, really murky and, you know, like looks like tomato juice, then you know that you have had a jar that has siphoned really bad and most likely will not be sealed. But right now, these guys look smoking. Love it. I'm gonna get them out. Music to a canner's ears. You see that we have some separating. That's not abnormal if you have a lot of water, and those were all not necessarily heirloom style, but they weren't paste style tomatoes, so I did notice that it was a little watery. I'm not alarmed about that. As they cool down and we mix them up, they should be fine. Sure are pretty. We also, in my food storage and seedling room here, we also went ahead and put the tomatoes in the dehydrator, the skins, in the dehydrator to dehydrate, to turn into powder. And that powder will most likely, I'll powder it, and then they say that you can use, I've never done this before, I'm just experimenting. They say that you can use 1 tablespoon of powder to 1 tablespoon of water, and it makes tomato paste. So I'm just gonna try it and see. If not, it's also a wonderful thing that I can add to soups and stews and things, just to give it one more level of flavor, and it's not wasted. The skins are easy to pop off, and I have a dehydrator, so it's not a big deal for me to try this. We'll see if I continue to do it year after year, but I've never utilized the skins for tomato paste, and I always feel super bad that I open a can of tomato paste and then I inevitably use 2 tablespoons out of it, and I end up feeding the rest to the chickens. I don't use it, so this would be really cool to have on storage dry. So anyway, that's it for today, you guys. Thanks for coming along with me for a day in the kitchen, and I hope you had a great day. Don't forget, if you like my content, to subscribe, leave your comments below, and always like and share our content if you can. I will catch you on the next one. Yours truly.